Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. I hope you're all doing okay today and that you're ready for a Requiem for Innocence. I am super excited about this. This is going to be a story that we both are quite familiar with, but also has never really experienced because both Morgana's and Jacopo's tellings of the events were very quick and quite shallow. We got the gist of it, but we didn't really get into the juicy details. And I want to quote what George said before we knew it was George, that we were able to bear the tragedies because they weren't our own. And that's very much the case here, I think. We were able to bear this story because we never actually got to see it. We never got to experience it. We were only told what happened. And now we are going to see it all for ourselves. Use the details sound a bit wrong. Yeah, considering the context maybe, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I am very excited about this. It will be both familiar and quite different from what we experienced in the main game. So I'm looking forward to it a lot. Also, I want to say, if there is anyone new here that is watching, I'm currently not sure how many people are here, but if you are new and is watching this, this is a prequel, but it spoils a lot of the main game. So if you are at all interested in the house in Fata Morgana, I suggest that you watch my playthrough of the main game first, because this game will spoil quite a lot. Quite important plot details will be spoiled here. So just a recommendation from me. But yeah. It's going to be fun, or fun is probably not the correct word, because it's going to be quite painful, and we are familiar with the story, as I have said multiple times already. We know how this story will end. It is the story that leads us into the endless cycle of pain and tragedy in the house in Fata Morgana. We know that this game does not have a happy ending. So I hope you guys are ready. I am very ready. I think we should just jump right into it because I am excited, as I have said already. So yeah, let's do that. And also tell me if the sound is okay, because I don't know, it probably should be the same as the main game, but I am not entirely sure if it's a different volume. So, there, a Requiem for Innocence. Let's go. Oh, we have access to a lot of bonus things already, I see. But we are saving that for later. We are doing the main game first, I think. So yeah, buckle up everyone. Death hangs in the... Oh, okay, that was fast. We are reading on our own, I guess. I think this intro is new for the Switch version. And already the music is beautiful. The house in Fata Morgana, a Requiem for Innocence. Quite a cinematic opening. Jacopo, our man. And Maria, our woman. Hi Israel, welcome. There's some games missing there, like 7th layer, that I think it's a lot of bad. Okay, I see. I was not aware. You're very perceptive, yeah. I know, right? Oh, this song is beautiful. I do have this one on my big game playlist. It is absolutely amazing. One day I'll show you the world. Do you ever get tired of saying that? Oh my god. I don't need to see the world, all I want is... Oh, this is so cute and this is so sad. For them there is no happily ever after. Yeah, okay. Hear me speedily, O Lord, my spirit faileth. Hide not thy face from me, lest I be like unto... Okay, that goes way too fast. Deliver me, O Lord, from mine enemies. I flee unto thee to hide me. Teach me to do thy will, for thou art God's spirit. Okay, I think I'm gonna read this quietly. Just to be able to, like, see what's going on. For I am thy servant. Cheers! A saint's blood and good fortune to all. Ooh. That is quite painful. Also, I do like this because in the original PC version it's a lot worse. She is actually quite naked there. Here they are at least covering her private parts. Like, it was covered by her hair then too, but like this is more decent considering she is 9 years old, so yeah. No, I'm not playing on PC. I am playing the Switch version. So yeah. You can't use a patch to transform the game into the Dreams of Revenants edition, which has the entire game and spin-offs. Yeah, it's the Switch version, this. So yeah. I guess we will unlock stuff as we go, because there was some question mark there as well, so we will see what is contained. But it is the Switch version at least, so yeah. Voices. So many voices. Laughing, laughing, laughing. Was this the 10th such party? The 20th? I no longer had any idea. The Lord's guests merely drank of my blood. My father had not blessed me with this miracle, so wealthy nobles could fill their goblets with it. My blood was for the poor, for the infirm and the destitute. Why am I here? Why am I not doing my father's work? With each passing moment, my body grew colder and colder, while a mad, fiery fervor spread among the partygoers. Father, it hurts. My soul hurt far more than my body. It felt like it was cracked in a dozen places, about to shatter. Again and again I told myself it was just a trial, that God was simply testing me, but I didn't think I could bear it much longer. A horrible black miasma spilled from the wounds on my flesh, filling the room. It was probably an illusion, something only I could see. The miasma soon began consuming my spirit. All my life I spent telling myself to be pure, just, righteous, and all of that was corroding away, ripping me asunder. Father, oh Lord, of thy mercy, cut off mine enemies, and destroy all them that afflict my soul. For I am thy servant. I am thy servant. Please, O Father, deliver unto these sinners thy holy judgment. Cast them down into the depths of hell, for the sins they would commit against thy faithful servant. Disguised as a prayer, I curse them. For the first time in my life, I wished someone ill. I did what a saint, what a daughter of God, must never do. What's your favorite character and what you hate more? My favorite character is definitely Jacopo. I adore him just because he is so interesting and complex, and I just adore him because he's such an interesting character. He's such a good anti-hero, which I really like. I don't think I have any character that I dislike in particular, so I don't know, actually. And in that moment, I committed a sin greater than anyone else in that room. The girl! Look at her face! I began to hear panicked voices rising up around the hall. However, I was completely oblivious to the cause of the unrest. In fact, I assumed that perhaps God had heard my wish and struck down some of the partygoers. The Lord marched over to where I sat in chains, grabbing me by the hair and yanking my head up. In his other hand, he held a sword. A disgusted grimace was carved onto his face, as though he was looking down at the filthiest thing in the world. "You're a damn witch wearing a saint's skin!" Hi Quill, welcome, welcome. This is worse than I expected. The stench of rotting flesh hung in the air. Corpses were strewn about the room in varying states of decay. Blood pooled on the floor, black and thick as mud. An eyeball hung loose from one body, half decomposed and about as much liquid as it was a solid. On many, white bone was visible through patches of flesh that had rotted away entirely. Some had been worked to death, others died of any number of diseases. And they were the lucky ones. Several bodies bore stab wounds from head to toe. Others looked like someone had tried to rip them in two. Some had been burned until their entire bodies shriveled, and some were covered in blisters. There was no shortage of people who had obviously been tortured. Though the man on the other end of the torture, the Lord, Bonnier, thought of it as more of a leisure activity. The Lord was spoken of in whispers as the second coming of the great tyrant of old, though it wasn't until I snuck into his manor and saw it for myself that I truly understood how accurate that was. He was a damn psychopath. I apologize that I couldn't make it in time to save you all too. I'm hardly a religious man, but for you, I think I can spare a prayer. Rest in peace. I am not myself today. Though I suppose that shouldn't be a surprise considering what today is. I wonder if that girl from the other day is among the dead. No, I need to stay focused. If this goes south, I'll be the one joining this pile of bodies. God, I'm starting to get a little nervous. Heh, don't go weak in the knees now, Jacopo. How can you ever expect to go out into the world if you can't even keep yourself together for something as straightforward as this? I can do this, no problem. Let's start ourselves a revolt. It all began a little over 2 weeks earlier. The local lord's iron-fisted rule was destroying the commoners. And this went doubly for those living in poverty, who were barely scraping by before taxes. You could hardly take 3 steps out in the slums without hearing someone curse the Lord. I have no idea who first proposed the plan. Everything came together so smoothly, so quickly, it's almost a blur. What started as the everyday litany of complaints hurled back and forth between the usual crew of young, guys, it's starting. I can't read. Of young, oh my god, indignant men in the pub soon escalated, ballooning into a full-fledged plot to strike back. He treats us like dog shit. We're the ones working his goddamn land. Let's give the bastard what's coming. Over the next few days, word of the plot spread through the slums, and the number of volunteers grew at an impressive pace. And the more people we had on board, the more realistic it all started to become. While the original plan amounted to charging in headlong with whatever weapons we could scrounge together, it quickly evolved into a more sensible scheme to infiltrate the Lord's manor and free his slaves. It was no secret that the Lord was purchasing far more slaves than he should have any reasonable use for. What we didn't know was what he did with the slaves, that the banquets he so loved to throw were actually 6 sadistic torture parties. The best we could do was infer their living conditions were less than ideal from the fact that the Lord kept acquiring more. And while the plan to free the Lord's slaves was undeniably rooted in a righteous desire, I would be lying if I said everyone's intention was so pure. We wanted to right an injustice, absolutely, but the prevailing desire was for vengeance, to give the Lord a little comeuppance. Part of it was also calculated, that it would be advantageous for it to look like a slave revolt rather than a civilian uprising. If we struck from the outside, we were liable to bring the Lord's wrath down upon more than just a handful of us involved. But if the blow came from the inside, he couldn't blame us. Secondly, the Lord's mansion sat atop a hill, which meant his soldiers had advantage of terrain. It would be nigh impossible for a band of lowly, ill-equipped peasants to break through his defenses, and we certainly didn't have the money to hire mercenaries. No amount of righteous anger was getting us anywhere near that manor. On the other hand, quietly getting one person inside to stir the pot was far more feasible. So ultimately, freeing the slaves was a means to an end. It was our best chance to deal the Lord a real blow. Of course, that didn't mean we wouldn't save as many people as we could, nor did it mean that it would be easy to pull off, or that any of us would make it out alive. The plan went as follows. We would find a slave trader willing to sell one of us to the Lord. Once they had infiltrated, they would spread word of the scheme to the other slaves, trying to get as many of them on board as possible. Finding a slave trader willing to cooperate was surprisingly easy. They're businessmen, and slaves their product. While the majority didn't give a damn what happened to the slaves after they received payment, there were more than a few who were displeased knowing their precious wares were being squandered. Slaves are supposed to be long-term workers, they're not meant to be expendable. They require food and rest and some semblance of reasonable living conditions. It was far from a glamorous life, obviously, but most sensible slave owners at least had a vested interest in keeping their workers alive. However, that was far from the case with Lord Bonnier. Slaves were, of course, the property of whoever purchased them, and a mere slave trader had no place complaining about how they were being treated. That didn't mean the traders had to like it though, and there was a small collective of them who staunchly refused to do business with the Lord, quietly mocking any who did. Nobody openly spoke ill of the Lord, let alone opposed him directly, not only because this land was under his control, but because he was a madman and everyone knew it. So they would help us to get in, and nothing more. But that was fine. That was all we needed from them to put our plan into action. And the vanguard of our operation, the one who would infiltrate the Lord's manor, was me. I volunteered for the position, partially in the heat of the moment, but also because I was confident I could pull it off. Above all, though, I didn't want to believe that I couldn't manage such a straightforward task. I had to step up and take initiative, or I would never escape this life as a poor, lowly slum dweller. Crawling through the dirt, everyone, nobles and peasants alike, looking down on me, thinking I'm worthless. That would be me for my whole pathetic life. Like hell I was going to let that happen. I wanted to claw my way up, as high as I could manage. I didn't want to surrender, to accept that I was powerless. I wanted to make something of my one and only life. We chose the beginning of the Lord's next banquet for my infiltration, and that was when I saw the horror for myself, the abuse and the torture he put the slaves through. Some people, even in those professions, had some level of morality. Yeah, I mean, work is work. You don't always have to like stand by your company. I mean, I'm not sure if you could say company like for slave traders, but still, I'm guessing there were some slave traders that could be somewhat moral, however moral you can be selling other people, but you know, different times and all that. It was a goddamn blood banquet. Any mistake, no matter how small, would invite harsh discipline. If Bonnier was in a particularly foul mood that day, he would physically beat the wrongdoer. He had a particular fondness for activities that drew blood though, and he would regularly gather together nobles with similar predilections at his manor. Once a banquet had begun, it generally continued for around 2 weeks. Oh god, that is quite some time to have a party, and especially that kind of party. My god. At least they cared at some level, while others didn't at all. Yeah. The first thing I did after infiltrating was spread the word of the plan to the other slaves. To be honest, I assumed it would be easy getting them to cooperate. They should have reviled Bonnier more than anyone after all. But I couldn't have been more wrong. Every ounce of willpower had been drained from them. They were malnourished, unrested, and violently oppressed. I could hardly have convinced them to swat a mosquito. He had them completely under his thumb. Everyone was utterly terrified to fight back against Bonnier. They would just as soon take their own lives. Hardly a day in, and the plan already seemed to have hit a wall. A full week I spent trying and failing to convince a single soul to assist in the revolt. Just as I was beginning to fear it might not work after all. We need to talk. Come with me. He was a tall, muscular slave who spent most of his time doing physical labor. Despite the poor conditions, he seemed to be keeping himself in rather good shape. And unlike the other slaves, his eyes weren't filled with fear and resignation. But it wasn't hope I saw in them either. Rather, they looked like the eyes of a bloodthirsty wolf. Have you seen The Gladiator? I remember some old man that is really nice but still sends the dude to fight for his life over and over. Yeah, I have seen it. It was a long time ago, but I do recognize what you are talking about, so yeah. Yeah, I do remember it vaguely. And his unkempt greasy blonde hair only served to amplify the primal impression he gave off. Between that and the faint, cocky smirk visible on his lips, he more resembled the head of a gang of ruffians than a slave. I wasn't sure it was entirely wise to accompany him anywhere. But against my better judgment, and with far too little information, I followed the man to the Great Hall. Time for some real great humor. Still a minute behind. Sounds like Lord Bonnier needs to locate some masochists. Yeah. He is in a class of his own, Bonnier. Definitely. And I'm glad that you are catching up, Quill. There were a dozen or so nobles and upper-class men and women clustered about the hall. The air was filled with the scent of aromatic herbs, and it wasn't long before I realized they were meant to mask the smell of blood. A large table was lined with plates. Sorry about that. A large table was lined with plates stacked with piles of glistening dark red meat. Noblemen sneered at us with wet lips as we entered the room. The contrast between the nobles' practiced graceful mannerisms and the grotesque feast of which they were partaking was so bizarre I simply stood there aghast. There was no room for anger to form. The Lord stood on a platform like a small stage at the far end of the room. "Are you the slave who offered to be the day's entertainment?" The The buff man nodded, dropping down to one knee. Also, take a moment to look at him. He does look quite similar to Jacopo, like in his colors and even like his build in a way. So I can understand Morgana mistaking him for him in her delirious state. It's not that strange at all, actually. What does he mean by entertainment? Those are some crazy eyes. Yeah, he is kinda insane. Surely you're tired of merely inflicting pain on helpless slaves. Would you, by chance, be interested in something a little more exciting? Could you be any more disrespectful? Lord Bonnier, you would do best to rid yourself of barbarians such as him. There, give the poor man a break. You can't expect an uneducated slave to be properly versed in the ways of polite society. Now, elaborate, slave. Me and him, we duel. Right here, right now. Do you seriously think we haven't already pit slaves against each other numerous times by now? If that's all, tell me, were they as vigorous as the two of us? Young and chomping at the bit? Well, if y'all want to see a couple of half-dead slaves limply flailing at each other, then help yourself. But you're not gonna find many here that can give you a fight with some real oomph, you know? Hell, half the slaves here probably keel over with just a little shove. So I figure you might be up for a little change of pace. A barbarian like me. Whoa, I never agreed to this! Suck it up, you're a slave! In the midst of a post-amputation blood loss shock state, could be mistaken, yeah, but the student said the eyes grant us eyes, yeah. Yes, polite society at that blood banquet. I'm not going to name any of those vampire parties such going forward. Well, I don't usually have a lot of parties, so good luck with that. Since when have you had the right to agree to anything? You make a compelling argument. Gratian, was it? I don't know if it's pronounced Gratian, but I'm gonna say it like that until someone corrects me. My lord knows my name. I'm honored. I only remember because you came very highly recommended. The slave trader said you were descended from a line of warriors that made a name for themselves fighting in the ancient Colosseum. I had assumed he was exaggerating. I'm getting so many ideas for Lolly's next birthday. What are you planning? Now I'm getting worried. But perhaps there was some truth to it after all. Who can say? Couldn't tell you about my ancestors. But what I can tell you is that I just love a good duel. Fought in the Colosseum, descended from gladiators, and I'm supposed to go one-on-one against him? Very well. Guards, bring these two swords. Sir! Shit. What is he hoping to accomplish? To win Barnier's favor? I guess I just have to hope I can catch him by surprise as soon as... Hey kid, listen up. What? Eyes forward. And keep it down. Listen carefully. Don't get in any wise ideas, got it? Just go along with it. Everything on the level. What are you scheming? You'll find out soon enough. Assuming I can handle a sword anyhow. Two guards approached us, each carrying a long sword. It was heavier than I expected, and it felt awkward in my hands. Both of our blades were badly chipped, clearly old and battle-worn. Of course they wouldn't give new, quality weapons to a pair of slaves, but a sword was still a sword. I guess as a maid is close to a slave who am I fighting? Well, we did have that discussion yesterday, but I promise I will treat you better than Bonnier treats his slaves, so, you know. That Bonnier looks like he wants to smile, but he's unsure how to use his face muscles. Yeah, pretty much. You're not wrong there. Beaten though they may have been, I still had to be careful or I'd be dead before I ever got the slave revolt off the ground. That said, I had survived this long in the slums. I wasn't completely helpless, and I had experience with a dagger. Though I wasn't sure how much help that would be now. The longer, two-handed weapon still felt awkward in my hands. As I squinted at the blade's hilt and adjusted my grip, trying to familiarize myself with the feel of it, Bonnier took a seat, readying himself to spectate. That's when I caught sight of what lay hidden at the back of the stage. What? I'm back to lurking and writing my story? Yeah! Perfect! That sounds absolutely amazing. I stood there, staring agape, completely forgetting I was but moments from a duel with a man twice my size. At the back of the stage was what looked like an altar, draped in a thick white sheet, and stained red. Atop it sat a young girl covered in gashes. Her head was drooped, so I couldn't see her face, but judging from her size, I didn't think she could be more than 10 years of age. Some wounds were older and had already scabbed over. Some were swollen, bright red protrusions on her pale skin. Some were oozing pus, and others were so fresh they were still bleeding. It was difficult to find a part of her body that wasn't cut. Hey, what do you think you're doing to that girl? I don't care who you are, no one deserves that. Even as I shouted at the Lord, the girl remained motionless. She seemed unconscious. Not dead yet, but it wouldn't be long. Silence, cur. I don't recall giving you permission to speak. Or, if you'd rather lose your head right now, continue on as you are. Damn despot. Now, go on. Get started. Give us a show befitting of this grand affair. Fighting my urge to snap back at him, I turned to face a slave named Requiem. The other guests lined the walls, whispering among themselves, speculating about the potential victor. Bonnier had too much Botox, I guess. Oh my god. The crowd was so overwhelmingly in Gratian's favor, to absolutely no surprise, that they didn't even bother taking bets. Try not to get down in one blow, kid. Hold on, what's the point of this? Slowly, Gratian lowered into a crouch, and the next second he leapt at me like a tiger. There was an audible whoosh, and before I even had time to gasp, he was mere inches away. What choice do I have? I swung my sword up, catching Gratian's blade mid-descent and attempting a parry, but there was far more weight in his strike than I had expected. The impact caused my hands to sting painfully and my knees to buckle. I clenched my teeth, trying at the very least to hold my ground. Rah! Gratian barely gave me time to recover, let alone strike back, before launching into a second attack. He handled the longsword so effortlessly, swinging it through the air in such impressive, perfect arcs that I could hardly believe we were using the same weapon. I twisted out of the way, but not quite in time. The tip of his blade skimmed the skin on my neck. And then, not even giving me a chance to catch my balance, he thrust his blade at me. While I managed to deflect the attack just in time, I wasn't able to follow through. Meanwhile, a wide, mocking smirk spread across Gratian's face. He seemed to be having the time of his life. Come on, kid! You're gonna have to do better than that if you wanna keep your head. I rattled off several insults in my head, but unlike him, I couldn't spare the energy to put them into words. Pick it up, boy! God Damn! That all you got, kid? I thought you'd fare a little better. Shut your damn mouth! I was stuck on the defensive, and with every strike he pushed me further and further back. I was almost up against the wall. I thought he said this was a part of some plan. Or was he just trying to get me to let my guard down? He's conspiring with the Lord, he must be. Why challenge me to a duel, though? Did someone spill word of the plan to him? Come on, give me your best shot, boy. Grr. Yes, very funny. You know damn well I'm barely managing as it is. You gotta at least try. Don't wanna put our audience to sleep now, do we? Even the bones in my forearms are starting to sting. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. Here, let me show you how it's done. God, I can't get a damn inch on him. Much more of this and I'll be up against the wall. I'm dead if I don't go on the offensive. Now's my last chance, while I've still got breathing room. Hey, big guy! You may think you have the advantage, but not for long. Ha! That's rich, coming from a guy who can't even get one swing in on me. Ha! It was all a trick to get your guard down. I've been saving this one just for you, meathead. Good luck dodging it. With that hulking body of yours. Now that's more like it. Let me have it, kid. I hopped backward a couple of paces until my heel was pressed up against the wall. There was no backing down. Not anymore. Breathing heavily, I lifted my blade, pointing it at Requiem. He pointed his in turn, a cocky grin plastered on his face. And then, I kicked off the ground, hard, sending me flying toward him, my sword held down near my waist, hissed above his head, and then, whoosh. He whiffed, his blade whipping through the air just over my head. The mere force of the gale created by his swing was so intense, for a brief moment I thought he might have knocked my head clean off my shoulders. But I was still breathing, and despite the exhaustion, my mind was incredibly clear and focused. I hadn't swung up at him, but slid across the floor. Your back's wide open! I lurched to my feet, spinning around, and swung my sword at his neck with everything I had. What? But my would-be grand comeback was deflected from behind without a bat of an eye, and hardly a wimpy deflect for that matter. My hand felt like they were on fire. Little bit on the dirty side, that was, but hey, not half bad, kid. Damn it! Just a little more oomph to that swing and he might have landed it. Too bad, too bad. I don't stand a chance against him head on, but it's not one to fall for the same trick twice. I need a new plan. Jacopo seems a little paranoid already. Well, he needs to overanalyze or he will be dead. Back against the wall with ya. Son of a... What's the matter, kid? That all you got? After all that talk, I was expecting a little more from you. He's got me completely under his thumb. I'm dead if I don't do something, but I can barely lift my arms anymore. It's getting harder to breathe. My vision's going blurry. I can't die yet. Not here, not now, and not to this damn brute. There has to be something. An opening I'm not seeing. Anything. Some way to turn the tables. Am I imagining it? Or did I react to that quicker than usual? Is he doing what I think he's doing? Patterns were forming in my mind. I've been through this routine so many times now, my body instinctively knew what came next. I'd parried his strike entirely by reflex. I wasn't so full of myself as to think it was a sign I was gaining the upper hand. As much as I loathed to admit it, he had every imaginable advantage over me. I should have realized what he was doing sooner, but I'd been so focused on keeping my head attached and my sword in my hands that I didn't have the spare mental capacity to see beyond that. He was in complete control. The only reason I was able to keep up with him was because he was letting me. Because he was repeating the same sequence of attacks again and again. If I'm right, then next he'll come from above. Ho ho! Right on the money. A clang like the pealing of a bell echoed through the hall as our blades collided. It was a much cleaner, more satisfying sound than they had made when I was struggling to keep up. I still don't know what he's scheming, but I'm not going to throw away this chance to win back some ground. Sparks flew with each clash of our swords, and Gratian's smirk grew wider. I could hear murmuring bubble up in the gallery as the tides turned. Cheering, cursing, confused gasps. But before long, the sound seemed to grow distant. It was just me and Gratian in a bubble of silence. Not even the sound of metal striking metal. My heavy breathing, the stomping of our feet, the distractingly loud pounding of my heart, the blood pumping through my veins. It all whisked away into nothing. Every one of my senses were focused on exactly two things: the image of our swords cutting clear arcs through the air, and Gratian's intent. "That's it! Next, overhead!" He whispered so quietly that by all rights I could have never heard it, but his intentions came through loud and clear. As if being controlled by that voice, I swung my sword down. After about a half dozen such clashes, we locked blades and had a brief showing match before putting a little distance between each other. And then we went at it again. To the audience, it would have looked like a fierce battle to the death, but I felt more like we were dancing than anything. Well, he was dancing. I was merely following his lead. But if that was his plan, whatever his plan was, I had no choice but to dance to his beat. The only thing improvisation would get me is a sword through the heart. Meanwhile, sticking to the plan, I had nothing to worry about, no reason to fear his sword might go off course. After several more fierce clashes, we got in close again. We were both breathing pretty heavily by that point. I was drenched in sweat, and it felt like I collapsed right then and there if I loosened up for even a second. Gratian tossed a glance off to the side for the briefest of moments. His lips came together, curling up into a smile. "Listen up. 3 paces back, then charge. Swing down as hard as you can. Put everything you got into it." As soon as I signaled my acknowledgement, Gratian parried my sword off to the side. "So you were dancing, he was just leading? Yeah." 1, 2, 3 paces back, then I gathered my strength into my legs. I crouched, like he had at the beginning of the duel, envisioning myself as a tiger ready to pounce. And then we leapt at each other in perfect sync. What? The harsh sound of metal striking metal, more piercing than anything else up to that point. For a heartbeat, the world went white. Then the whoosh of something ripping through the air. It wasn't for another second or two that I realized what had happened. Breathing heavily, I looked down at the sword in my hands, only to find half of it missing. Gratian's blade appeared to have snapped as well. The gallery began buzzing. "Are you all right? How dreadfully dangerous!" Heh! A perverse grin spread across Gratian's lips. I finally understood what he had been scheming. He wanted the swords to break, and he wanted it to look like an accident, hoping that when the shattered blades went flying, a noble or two would be caught in the crossfire. That explained the whole song and dance, why you had us hitting each other's blades in the same spots again and again. But how the hell would you ever expect that to work? That said, if the fight had gone on much longer, I don't think I would have lasted. His plan seems to have gone about as well as you could reasonably expect. One piece landed near Bonnier, and the other embedded in a table. That's fine by me. I'd rather avoid causing any more of a scene before the actual revolt. Not that I would be opposed to seeing any of these madmen skewered. Requiem wiped the sweat from his brow with the back of his hand and surveyed the room. As obviously outclassed as he was by all the nobles, he still seemed much larger than anyone else in the room. He took a few moments to catch his breath, then sauntered over to the center of the great hall, taking another good look around the room before saying, "Apologies for the disturbance, my lord. While ordinarily a duel is supposed to end with someone dead, it looks like that's out of the question today. So mayhap we can reschedule, put on another show in a day or two, if you would like." Bonnier seemed less than pleased with the outcome, but considering how rattled his guests were, he couldn't press the matter either. "Very well. Now, I believe you two deserve a reward for such a fine show." "Oh, what kind of reward?" "One I'm sure you'll be quite pleased with. The leftovers from today's feast. Gourmet cuisine, the likes of which you mere slaves could only dream of getting your dirty hands on." "You mean those bleeding scraps of mystery meat?" "Ha! Worry not. There's pork in there. Or does your religion prohibit you from eating pig?" "Nah, I gave up on religion long ago. I'm fine with eating meat. Most meat, anyway." "I'll have the other slaves bring it down this evening, then. Now, the show's over. Be gone with you." "Gone we be, my lord." "I'm still concerned about that girl. There's nothing I can do for her right now. Hopefully she'll last long enough for the revolt, but with wounds like that... Hey kid, pick your beat ass up and let's get out of here." "I'm not beat, thank you very much." "Who are you trying to fool when you're wheezing up a lung? Getting huffy about it only makes you look more pathetic. Piss off, you inhuman monster." Now, do have a wonderful day, ladies and gents. Once we were out of the hall and in the corridor, I took several deep breaths, finally letting loose some of the tension that had built up within me. As we made our way through the corridors, the sound of the nobles laughing and chattering away amongst themselves faded into nothing. Jacopo is so pity. Yeah, well. He does not like to be insulted. We headed for the rather barren waiting room, where slaves without assignments were kept. In essence, it was a human closet. I looked up at Requiem, who was standing beside me. I had about a dozen things I wanted to say to him, but I couldn't organize my thoughts into words. So I simply shrugged and pursed my lips. Yeah, that was a shame." "Huh? What was a shame?" "You were hoping to kill at least one noble when the swords broke, weren't you?" "If only. I'm not that skilled, hell no." "You could have fooled me." "If anything, I say we're lucky it went as well as it did. It's a damn good thing they gave us their old crusty swords, or we'd never managed to break him at all." "If not to skewer one of the nobles, then why go to such lengths at all?" "Well, because otherwise we had to fight to the death, of course." "No, that's not what I'm..." "Of course, we both know who'd be standing here then." As much as I hate to admit it, he has me beat in almost every category. For God's sake, how do you even get that good with a sword? Is it hereditary or something? What I'm trying to figure out is what your ultimate objective was in this whole facade. Why challenge me to a duel at all? You're planning a revolt, aren't you, kid? What does that have to do with anything? Just answer the question. Denying it will only delay the inevitable, so no point in that. And I'm fairly certain it's not on the Lord's side, at least. If it was just trying to win the Lord's favor, I can't imagine the duel would have ended the way it did. Jacopo, it's called practice. Yeah, true. Jacopo, I say you win in the looks department. Yeah, Jacopo definitely win in that category. He is a very pretty boy. Absolutely. I can probably trust him. Yes, I am. And I needed other slaves to help pull it off. But the little drone's been sucked of all their fight, and you can't get anyone on board. Why even ask the question if you already know the answer? Hey now, no need for the lip, kid. I brought it up because I'm trying to tell you I'm in. You're in? Excuse me? What about anything you've done today would make me think you're in? Bear with me for a sec and put yourself in the other slaves' places. Some dick they never met before shows up out of the blue saying I'm organized to have you all set free and I need your help to do it. You think they're gonna buy into it? Fair enough. But it is true that I have the people outside. Don't matter, you could be lying through your teeth and it wouldn't change a damn thing. All that matters is whether they think you're worth getting behind. I see your point. These slaves have been driven into the very depths of despair. They need someone charismatic enough to pull them out of that pit before they can be sparked to take any sort of action. Before infiltrating, I imagine it would be much simpler. It would seem that was rather naive of me. That was a whole lot of words to say the same thing I just said. Forget your fancy metaphors. It all boils down to this. Do they think you have a chance of pulling it off? Yes or no? These people, they don't got the energy to get all philosophical. They go with their gut. And the quickest way to the gut? Show them you're strong. Ah, now I'm starting to understand what the duel was for. Brown eyes beat blue every day? No, I don't think I agree with that. It depends on the person very much, but I think blue eyes are... I mean, all eyes have a tendency to be very pretty. It depends on the person, I would say, so... yeah. Hard to say, actually. I mean, I do think I generally prefer blue eyes, but like I said, it depends on the person. And in this case, Jacopo's brown eyes definitely win over Gratian's blue. And I am 90% packed and 100% sweaty. Aww. Hope you can relax for at least a little bit, Quill. I think your blue eyes are probably pretty. I haven't seen them, but as I said, I mostly prefer blue eyes, but I mean, all eyes are pretty. So, yeah. I would agree, any physical attribute depends on who they are on. Yeah, precisely. Like, we can all have our, like, preferences, but if the right person arrives, it doesn't really matter that much because that person will be beautiful either way, so, yeah. The other slaves already know of your prowess, so if I were to fight on the same level as you, then they'd be willing to hear you out, exactly. Whoa there, kid, why the sigh? You're trying to blow this place down? You could have easily accomplished that without putting on a damn show in front of the Lord and putting my life in danger. It wasn't just for the other slaves, kid. What do you mean? I wanted to make sure you weren't some yellow-bellied peasant. That you're actually capable of doing what you promise. And now that I know you got a semi-functional spine, I'm willing to help out with the revolt. Semi-functional, huh? Well, I'm glad I didn't disappoint you then. Given my performance back there, I cannot blame you if you deem me beyond hope. Give yourself a little more credit, kid. While I'm pretty sure the stories about my ancestors being gladiators are exaggerated, I did participate in a few death games myself back before I ended up here. You should consider it a badge of honor that you fought a brute like me and lived to tell the tale. I was under the impression the church put an end to gladiatorial games. Alright, it went underground. The rules may change, but not people. Always a market for blood sports. Then yada yada, I got sold to the Lord and here I am. That probably explains what he meant when he said he had given up on religion. So, what's your story, kid? My man is on some rich aristocrat what got in his head he wanted to play hero and stop the big bad lord from being mean to his slaves. What the hell gave you that idea? You strike me as more a prissy rich boy than a ruffian is all. A prissy rich boy? I come from the slums, so no, I'm not just some upper-class punk playing hero. That a fact? Well, color me surprised. You sure don't talk or act like any of the slum boys I know. That's probably because... Nothing. And now I'm even more curious, damn it. Honestly, it's not that interesting, I promise. Forget I said anything. It's because I want to be able to blend in when I eventually leave the slums. But he doesn't need to know that, I only just met him. And for some people blonde hair doesn't fit as well as others. Yeah, also true, also true. It very much depends on the person. And we all look different for a reason, so I think we should all embrace our differences. Everyone is beautiful in their own right. Whatever you say then. That case, how about we do some proper introductions, huh? Name's Requiem, which you should already know. Nice meeting you, kid. Jacopo. I'm very glad to have your support, Requiem. Don't mention it. I've been wanting to make the scumbags eat dirt myself, and this is a perfect chance. Oh right, one more thing I wanted to ask. What? How old are you? Excuse me? Is that relevant to anything? Jeez kid, someone really needs to teach you how to shut up and answer a simple question. I'm 19. Oh thank god, I'm 20. Now I don't have to feel like an ass for calling you a kid. I'm only a year younger, that hardly makes me a kid. A year's a long time, kid. Now that I got that off my shoulders, I can put my all into helping with your revolt. I'm starting to wonder if I even want this guy's help. Once I had Requiem on board, it was remarkable how quick the rest of the slaves were to join in. They knew him, and they respected him, and that respect went a long way toward improving my own standing. As far as they were concerned, I had fought Requiem and managed to hold my own. And the big man was right. It wasn't a clever plan or a moving speech these people needed to put the light back in their eyes. It was a show of strength. Over the next few days, as Barnier and his guests indulged themselves, word of the plan quietly spread beneath the surface. I started to see signs of life for the first time since I had arrived. The majority of the slaves were emaciated and weak. There was a good possibility the guards would kill many of them. But still, I urged on any who hesitated by saying, if you choose to stay, you're guaranteed to be killed eventually. It was true, to be sure, but in essence I was threatening them. Help or be left behind to die. And that was enough to convince them to grab onto the thread of hope I was offering, however frail it may be. We chose the 13th day of the banquet to commence the revolt. Waiting until almost the end of the party's usual 2-week duration gave us a slight tactical advantage. Naturally, Barney's guests did not attend without their own protection. But after being made to watch over almost 2 weeks of debauchery, the guards would start getting exhausted. They would stop caring. And that was exactly what we needed. Hey there, Jacopo. Everything's good to go on my end. We can give Lord Asshole what's coming and whenever you're ready. Thank you. I appreciate all your help. Whoa there, kid. Save the things for after we get out of here with our heads still attached. Ha, fair enough. Then how about this? If we both survive, I'll take you to the best pub in the slums. As long as they're pretty ladies, count me in. There's one I can introduce you to, if you don't mind your girls headstrong and with a little bit of bite. Tough and pretty. Now that I can get behind. I spent so long surrounded by all these half-dead drones that I could sure stand for some good-natured abuse right about now. Good-natured might be a bit of a stretch. Rub her the wrong way and you'll find yourself a short pair of jewels. Think I'll pass on that one then. I don't care how much of a looker she is, I ain't ready for her to be my last. How about this then? I'll tell you what I'm looking for, and you have someone picked out for me by the time this is all over. Flexible on the looks, but slender and short are a must. Meaty girls aren't really my type. Blonde hair and blue eyes are a plus, but it ain't a deal breaker. And I like him to be a bit... Slow down there, you got your head way too far in the clouds if you think you're going to find your ideal wife at a brothel in the slums. Hey now, how do you expect me to give this my all without something to look forward to on the other side? I suppose it's a decent motivator? See? You get me! Now, on to business. You ready to do this? I've been ready, kid. Just waiting for the word. That's about as good an answer as I could have hoped for. Before we begin, I want to go over the plan one last time. After you secure weapons from the armory, you take command of the other slaves and go open the gates. While you're doing that, I'll signal to my people outside, then cause a diversion. As long as we don't make too much noise, the lord and the other nobles shouldn't realize anything is amiss until we're on top of them. As soon as the gates are open, you head for the Great Hall, where we rendezvous. We crash the party, and while the lord and his friends are distracted, my people will lead the slaves to safety. And then we swipe up all the shiny things we can carry and get our asses the high hell out of here. Right, can't forget the valuables. Huzzah! I'm getting all sorts of fired up! Don't you trip and fall on some guard's sword before we even get to start our fun, you hear me? Ha! Same to you. Well then, let's get going. May fate be on our side. Damn right. Get behind. Yeah, well. No comment on that. Hey, what do you think you're doing? You're not supposed to be here. Get back to... Ah! Stay back! Don't make me kill you! Wait! Stop! You're up. Come on and draw your bloody cards already. Don't rush me, I'm thinking. On with it. It's almost lunch. If I hold this and throw away these, then I could... Christ. Huh? You hear that? Sounds like something happening downstairs. Quit trying to distract me. I ain't letting you run off with the pot like last time. No, I'm serious. Something going on down there. It's probably just a slave getting beat. How are you not used to that by now? I don't know. Something feels off to me. I'm gonna go check it out. And don't even think about messing with the cards while I'm gone. I won't. Hurry back. Ain't no bonus for giving a rat's arse, so it beats me what he's so eager about. God, I wish I could have gotten hired at a place that paid a little better. Am I seeing things? I swear I just saw something move. You! On the wall! Get down from there! What do you think you're doing? You're not supposed to be up here! Put the knife away before I... Ha! You're up here playing cards and you have the nerve to call yourself a guard. I expected resistance to be light, but not this bad. I should take care of this and get out of here before the other one returns. It's amazing how much better a knife feels in my hand than a sword. So much easier to handle. There is not much help if they manage to draw on me first. Maybe I'll ask Requiem to teach me how to use a sword if we both make it through the day. I hate the idea of giving him any more reason to claim superiority over me, but I can't think of anyone better than him. Poor guy was just doing his job. Yeah. Well, tough luck. Keeping an eye on my surroundings, I climbed up onto the watchtower. I could hear shouting in the distance. It seemed Requiem was doing his job. I pulled a brightly colored cloth from my pocket and affixed it to the highest point in the tower. As it began flapping in the wind, I turned my attention toward a hill in the distance. A group of tiny dots emerged from behind a rock formation, heading this way. I let out a sigh of relief. Next up, time to make some noise. Back up! We need backup! The slaves are revolting! Revolting? Are you serious? What do you think you're carrying that damn sword for? You shouldn't need backup, just put him down. Yes, but there's too many of them. And they're not messing around either. They're stampeding right through us. They don't care how many of them die. And one of them is practically a giant. Oh, quit pissing yourself over a bunch of damn slaves. Who cares how big one of them is? They're not armed, just... Be? Behind you! Huh? Ha 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 ha! Sorry to disappoint you, but we are armed! Maybe I should consider posting another couple guards in front of your armory. Ah! There he is! There he is! There he is! Come on, little man. Let's see what you got. Ah! You're no fun! Anywho, get these gates open, boys. Yeah! Ooh, I take it those are Jacopo's people. Kid actually did his job instead of booking it the hell out of here. Good on him. Of course, that's exactly what I was gonna do if I didn't see his people when we opened the gates. Guess he actually is good for his word. Which means I'm sticking through to the very end. Hey, take out as many of the bastards as you can on your way in, and be thorough. We want a clean escape and we don't want to give them a chance to surround us. Keep at it, don't let them get organized. If we fuck this up the ass pipe, it's the gallows for all of us. If you need a weapon, grab a rock, a vase, a fucking decapitated head, anything you can find. Great, Ian, how are things progressing? Smooth as the baby's behind. Your reinforcements here making right good work of the guards and getting as many slaves out as they can. I'm glad to hear it. Then let's head down to the Great Hall. Aye, let's. I'd like nothing more than to rip the Lord's head right off his shoulders. The point is not to kill the Lord. It's to deal just enough of a blow that it stops throwing so many damn banquets. For now, anyway. And what if I trip and my sword just happens to run him through? I'd rather if you didn't, if at all possible. But whatever happens, happens. Alright, let's do this. Yeah. I almost feel like Requiem could be a male Maria. Yeah, I could see that. I do think that Maria has a little more in her head though. She is more... she's smarter than he is, I think. He is more brute, but I can see it. They have sort of the same fiery personality. Would that make them a good couple or would they clash heads way too often? Well, good question, good question. It'll make for beautiful fireworks either way. Yeah, exactly. Is it just me or is it unnaturally noisy in there? Did some of the other beats us to it maybe? Far as I know, we're the first ones here. Well, I guess we'll find out. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3! Yeah, Maria is more cunning. Might put that to background though. Yeah. Exactly. Chaos reigned over the manor. But the chaos in the hall where the Lord held his banquet was of a slightly different flavor. A buzz filled the room. Noblemen and women murmured, shuffling backwards, putting distance between each other, tossing goblets to the ground. As Gratian had suspected, we were the first ones here. So why was everyone so tense? Whatever the cause of the disturbance, it seemed it was at least partially to thank for things proceeding so smoothly. The question is, what is happening here? Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of the Lord. He stomped over toward the far end of the hall. Sitting atop the makeshift altar was the same young girl I had seen a week prior. For a brief moment, relief came over me at the knowledge she was still alive. But that relief quickly morphed into dread. You. He unlocked the shackles binding the girl. Too weak to hold herself up, she fell forward into a slump, her long burgundy hair fanning out around her limp body. And then... "You're a damn witch wearing a saint's skin!" The Lord raised his sword high above his head. "Gratian, I'll be borrowing that." "What? Hey, you little son of a..." "What?" I hurled Gratian's longsword for the Lord, knocking his blade from his hands. The two swords rattled to the ground. I tossed my gaze to the girl for a split second. She was very clearly out of it, but she seemed to be breathing. Finally realizing a pair of slaves had just burst in on them, the nobles' panic swelled, and one of them started shouting for the guards. "Well, fuck me sideways, there goes any chance we had at a surprise attack. Damn it all. And we had a perfect distraction too." "Ah, to hell with it! Get in here, boys!" "Yeah!" "Ah, wait a sec, need my sword first." The next second, the room was enveloped in a cacophony of shouting and screaming and clanging. Most of the nobles carried swords, but very few actually seemed to have any idea how to use them, the majority scrambling for the back exit. "You insolent worm! Who do you think I am? To threaten your lord is to slight God." "Ha! Ever the cocky bastard, I see. Tell me, do you have any idea what's happening right now?" "Silence, cur! You will regret ever defying me." "Ha! Nothing more original, you third-rate fairy-tale villain." I was the one who had said the Lord's death was not part of the plan, yet there I was, going straight for him. Gratian was absolutely right. The Lord had been distracted with the girl when we arrived, but I had thrown that advantage away. I'd seen God knows how many slaves killed in hardly 2 weeks' time. Adding another body to the pile shouldn't have fazed me one bit. Logically, there was no reason for me to care. But I couldn't just leave her. And of course, now that I picked up fight with the Lord, I had no choice but to follow through to the very end. I dashed for the Lord, scooping up one of the dropped swords and swinging it down on him. Gratian chose gladiator fighter and Maria picked the courtesan bard. Yeah. For accuracy to 5th edition, I'll change the courtesan to entertainer. Okay, I see. Well, I'm not very knowledgeable about D&D at all, except for like Baldur's Gate, so you could say whatever and I would just be like, okay. But yeah, I understand at least what you're saying, so yeah. But my blade cut through nothing but air. I had assumed he would be a pushover, another noble obsessed with money and power and helpless to defend himself. So there was no hiding the look of shock on my face. Damn, he can move! Bonnier slid out of range, swiping the remaining sword off the ground and whipping it through the air with practiced grace. Perhaps you should save the snide yapping for when you have the skill to back it up, insignificant cur. Ha! We'll see if you still feel the same way when I'm through with you. I closed the gap. We clashed. He swung. I parried. Steel and steel ripped through hot air, carving ephemeral silver arcs in empty space. Our blades locked. What are you hoping to accomplish with this revolt? What's your endgame? My endgame? To get out of this hellhole and be free from slavery once and for all? I have no doubts about whether you ever were a slave at all. But no matter. Why attack me? What do you care about the girl? What do you have to gain from saving her? He's right. I have nothing to gain from rescuing the girl. All I've accomplished is making this whole process needless and messy. That said, do I need to have something to gain? Are you saying I should just sit back and watch as you murder an innocent little girl? I was angry and I thought I'd do something about it. Nothing more, nothing less. Is that really so hard to understand? Nothing more than a childish hero complex. Just to answer I would expect from a foolish little boy with his head in the clouds. Excuse me? You're a puny worm, powerless to truly save anyone. You merely want to help the girl so you can pat yourself on the back and pretend you did a good deed. You simply want an excuse to be proud of your worthless self. Look at her. The girl's hardly even breathing. She'll be dead soon enough with or without my help. And who do you think is to blame for that? You don't have any right to judge the value of her life. My role in this is irrelevant. Was saving a dead girl part of the plan? It wasn't, was it? You diverged from the script to rescue a girl whose life is no worth to you whatsoever, all so you could momentarily feel good about yourself. That misstep will be the downfall of you, worm. Enough! I'll put you back in the ground where you belong. Not a chance! God damn! For a flamboyantly dressed asshole, he sure can fight. There's not nearly as much force behind his wings as Gratian's, but he's quick. I can barely keep up, let alone react. I hope you enjoy eternity in hell. You'll have plenty of time to reflect on your little lapse in judgment. Damn it! I can't let these bastards kill me when we're so close to succeeding. I need to keep my cool. Yes, he's got me beat in agility, but Gratian's a much more skilled swordsman than him. I can handle this. Sheer determination can only mask a lack of skill for so long, boy. Look at yourself. You're out of breath. That sword you're flailing around is getting heavier and heavier. Shut your mouth. Damn it. I've hardly even broken a sweat. I will. I swear to God, I will have your head. Ha! Lord Bonnier! Lord Bonnier! Your escape has been secured, my lord. It seems our fun is over. Be grateful you're still breathing, cur. Hey, wait! We're not done yet! Get back here, goddamn you! I made to go after him, but in an instant a wall of guards had formed between us. Traces of fear were visible in most of their eyes. Even exhausted as I was, I could have probably made it through. But before I could so much as consider attempting to give chase, I caught a glimpse of the girl, limp and covered in gashes, causing me to come back to my senses. What's gotten into me? There's no point in going after him. The slaves have been freed and his valuables plundered. The plan was a huge success. What I should be concerned with now is getting myself out of here. I need to stay focused. I took a moment to survey the hall, reevaluate the situation. Things had progressed somewhat since I got it in my head to go after the Lord. Many of the slaves were gone, and the guards were beginning to mobilize. They were better equipped, trained, and more fit than us. And we were, for the most part, fueled entirely by determination and righteous anger, which would only go so far in direct combat. Gratian was probably the only one on our side with any sort of real training. One man was not enough to win this fight, especially now that our main advantage, surprise, was exhausted. Hey Jacopo, if you're all finished with your business, I'd really like to get the hell out of here. I may be a badass, but I ain't a god. Right, yeah, sorry for the hold-up. Before regrouping with Gratian, I knelt before the girl. Hello? Can you stand? Hello? Can you hear me? I gently shook the girl by the shoulder, and the only response I got was a limp wag of her head. It was clear she was in no condition to walk. I guess I'll have to carry her, I thought, and made to pick her up. When I saw her face and gasped, "Dear God!" It was horrific. Unsettling marks covered the young girl's face. Primal repulsion was my first reaction, and shortly thereafter came overwhelming pity. I obviously had no way of knowing what kind of life the girl had led, but something told me it was far worse than any of the countless children who grew up in the slums, struggling day after day. "Hey, get moving! I ain't waiting around! I'm coming!" I grabbed the girl's arms, wrapping them around my neck from behind, and climbed to my feet. I could feel her breath, faint though it was, on my ear. "You hang in there." And then I broke into a dash, leaving the fading panic of the great hall behind. Alright, I think that is where we end it for today, actually. So let me change screen here. Well, quite the action-packed beginning. Very different from how the main game begins, which is quite slow with like Nell and Melly in the rose garden and being cute and all that. And this is quite violent and bloody already, and I like it. And I also like that we got to see a lot of Jacopo's personality already. We see that he once was something else than a greedy lord, and I hope that you guys will feel as I do about him after we are done with this whole journey, that you will feel somewhat of a love for him too, even if he is very much not a hero in any way. So yeah, totally want to figure out a way to play Baldur's Gate 3 with you someday. Yeah, that would be amazing. I would love that. I hope that they can make it cross play someday. That would be really good. Already that passed way too quickly. Yeah, time flies when you are having fun, but we have been going for quite a bit, and I do think that this is a good place to end it, because if I were to continue, I don't know if I would find as good of a place in a short amount of time. So yeah, I think it's for the best. We want to keep a good flow with the story, I feel. A very hot start, feeling like it suited a prequel follow-up to the main story before it. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, now it's just an inspiring video lord. Yeah, not even that. Like, that seed has not been planted in his head yet. He is still just a slum boy trying to make slum life a little easier. Although he did say that he wanted to crawl up into power, but I don't think he is expecting to become a lord just yet. He just wants to be something more than a filthy peasant living in the slums. But I mean, there's quite a leap from going from that to becoming the lord of the land, so yeah. But this has been very, very exciting. This story, I have obviously read this one before as well, but not as many times as the main game, so my memory of the details is not as bright as it was for the main game. So yeah, it will be quite a journey for me too. I mean, the main game was too, because I love it so much, but this will be more like re-exploring a story that I somewhat know but also somewhat don't. So it will be very fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode and are excited for more, because I certainly am, at least. So yeah, the next stream will be on Thursday. We will be playing Final Fantasy VII. And then on Saturday it will be a writing stream, and on Sunday I will be doing my very first collab ever over on Twitch. I have a link to that on the community tab. If you guys are interested, it's gonna be a language collab. So I'm gonna teach some Swedish, and then we have Day here in the chat who's gonna teach some Finnish, and we have Polish, German, Russian. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Very good so far. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. I do like this story a lot, and I do like that it doesn't feel like too much of a repeat from what we already know. Like, because I was worried when I first read this story, or when I was gonna buy a Requiem for Innocence, I was a bit worried that it would feel like a repeat, because we had already been told the story of Jacopo and Morgana. But I feel like this game really gives us the details that were lacking from the main game, and makes us care even more about both characters, and I absolutely love that. But it makes sense for them to tell the story the way they did in the main game as well, because as I think I told you my perspective on it before, that at least with Morgana's perspective, that she was very much glancing over the story, just telling us very quickly without emotion. And the same can be said for Jacopo, really, as well. Like, it's a memory they don't want to relive because it's too painful for them, so they are just telling the necessary, leaving out all the details. And here it's more like we have opened their door and are witnessing it all. And as we have learned, perspective is everything, and here we really get to see it all. Yeah, exactly. We were told the story from Morgana's point of view, and then Jacopo told us a little bit as well during his perspective, but yeah, only very glanced over, very like a quick repetition of the events, no emotion in it, more than necessary, no details. And yeah, I mean, Requiem isn't even mentioned, for example, so yeah. So I'm very much looking forward to this. It will be a very fun and also sad and tragic ride. It was a wee bit traumatic for her too. It's not weird that she made the worst of it. Why not wanted to give details? Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with that, and I think that's the reason why they chose to tell it that way, because just as Michel didn't want us to see his backstory, Morgana and Jacopo did not want us to see theirs. They were both very like protective of these memories, and it hurt for them to relive it. So I understand that point of view. So yeah, I agree with that. It feels like a true Door 3, since it's still true to Morgana's fate. It was so empty due to the focus on that isolation. Yeah. So while we could like feel sad for Morgana, and also in the end somewhat Jacopo by the end of the main game, this is gonna make it much more painful because they are not gonna leave anything out for us. So yeah. Look forward to that. Look forward to trauma, everyone. Trauma Mondays, and every other Sunday as well. But yeah, so I'm gonna go and take a shower now and make some dinner. And I hope to see you guys on Thursday, but if not, I will see you guys when I see you. And I look forward to it. So have a nice evening, everyone, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.